Hi, my name is Mike Kornbaum. I'm going to show you how you can set up a WAAS and Akamai Connect proof of concept in 20 minutes. I'll show you a topology diagram of the simple lab POC with a virtual center manager and a ISR 4331 that will run ISR-WAAS plus Akamai Connect. We'll show you the central manager OVA deployment in ESXi, walk through the WCM configuration, show you the easy config script on the ISR 4331, and then show you the Akamai Connect enablement. So here's the simple diagram. We have a ISR 4331 at the branch office that will run ISR-WAAS. We have a WAN link over to an ASR 1000 and a virtualized data center running ESXi. This is where we'll deploy our virtual center manager and the virtual WAAS appliances. The virtual WAAS appliance deployment will not be part of this demo. We'll just concentrate on the virtual central manager deployment, initial configuration, as well as enabling the branch device for WAAS plus Akamai Connect. Now let's get into the demo. Now let's launch our vSphere client and connect to our vCenter. I'm going to walk through the deployment with deploy OVF template or OVA template, locate our OVA file, click next, next, give the VM a name. We will always pick thick provisioned for any vWAAS and VCM deployment. We define the virtual network that we want this VM to be in. I've predefined the network DC1, and we'll click Finish. This deployment should take about 5 minutes or less, depending on your transfer speed between your client and the vCenter server. Now the VM has been deployed successfully. You can go ahead and power it on. You need to wait a few minutes for the initial boot up process to happen, and then we'll launch the console. Now that the WAAS Central Manager is finished booting up, we can log in for the first time. The default username and password, admin, default. So we'll simply run the setup script to set this device up for the first time. Type setup, and you'll be given a menu. Yes. Set the management interface. Set the IP, since we're not going to use DHCP. Configure the default gateway. We're going to configure a DNS server. A domain name. And we'll give it a host name, as well as an NTP server address. And we'll just hit enter for the enterprise license, which is the default license for the WAAS Central Manager. Optionally, you can run diagnostics. We're not going to do that at this time. We'll exit the setup. So now you can see in the running config, we have the primary interface configured, our virtual interface, our device mode, our default gateway, our NTP server, and our DNS name. Next, since this is a device mode central manager, we'll enable the CMS process. What this will do is create the database tables for the central manager and start the web GUI front end, which we'll log into to manage all the WAAS devices. We'll write the mem. Next, we'll log into the central manager GUI. So now let's log into the WAAS central manager. You access it via HTTPS on port 8443. You might get a warning about a self-signed certificate. Just accept that and move forward. Log in with the default username and password, admin default. Now you see this is the home screen for the WAAS Central Manager. Obviously we don't have any data because we're not sending any accelerated traffic to the network. We haven't registered any WAAS devices to this Central Manager yet. You can get a view of all the devices registered to the Central Manager. Just one right now, the Central Manager itself. We're going to prepare the all WAAS group with the default policy settings. So when a device joins the Central Manager, it is automatically assigned to this device group and will get any settings associated with this group. So the first thing we want to do is make sure the default policies are pushed down. So we're going to configure optimization policies. Notice that the policy settings are blank. This is by design because you may want to have custom default policies pushed out to all your devices when they join the group. So I like to click Restore Default, which applies our 160 some odd default policies. And now you can see all the default policies are populated in here. Click Submit, and we're done. Another thing we can check are the enabled features. By default, all features are enabled, even the CIFS accelerator or SMB accelerator for ISR-WAAS. Since I'm going to be using ISR-WAAS at the branch and at the head end I have virtual WAAS, I'm going to select SMB accelerator for all WAAS devices. So ISR-WAAS to vWAAS traffic, that's SMB, can be accelerated by the SMB accelerator. I'm going to click Submit. Next, since the focus of the test is going to be Akamai Connect related and HTTP traffic, I'm going to drill into the HTTP accelerator settings. I want to make sure that all of these settings are enabled, and most of them are enabled by default. However, if we have SharePoint in the environment, we want to enable the prefetch optimizations, and we want to enable suppress server compression for HTTP and HTTPS traffic to allow the server to send uncompressed traffic to the WAAS devices, and then WAAS can provide its compression and DRE benefits. Now our WAAS Central Manager is set up and ready to accept registration of the ISR-WAAS device. Now we're ready to run the easy config script on the 4331 to install ISR-WAAS, enable AppNav-XE for interception, and register the ISR-WAAS instance with the Central Manager we just configured. Before we do so, we want to make sure that we have DNS configured, NTP configured on the router itself, because the ISR-WAAS will inherit those configurations from the router itself. So you have an NTP server configured. I already have a name server configured, as well as a domain name. So now I'm ready to run the easy config script, service WAAS enable. It's going to run through a menu. It's going to ask me a few questions and then kick off the install, which should take about 10 minutes. So I'm going to use the IPv4 address. The address of the WAAS will be I'm going to use IPv4 on the router. The WAN interface, I'm going to enable AppNav interception on, is gig 00. It gives me a summary of the config that I'm going to run, and I hit enter to install the ISR-WAAS image. Note that I had the ISR-WAAS OVA already on the boot flash before I ran the command. Now, another thing to note, since this is a 4331, there's only one ISR-WAAS profile that will be instantiated. That's the ISR-WAAS 750, so 750 concurrent TCP session ISR-WAAS. This process should take about 10 minutes to complete. So now you see the WAAS instance has been activated and registered to the central manager. We can use the command show virtual service list to see the WAAS instance has been activated. You could also now log into the central manager and we should see the device has been registered. So click on the Devices tab, and now we see our new WAAS instance is registered to the central manager. And now if we click on the device, and we go to the Configure Optimization Policies, we see he's getting his settings from the All WAAS group that we previously set up. Next step will be to enable Akamai Connect on this ISR-WAAS instance. For this, we'll need a license file. In order to get an Akamai Connect trial license, open a case with the PDI Technical Advisor team at www.cisco.com/go/PDI. The PDI team is there to assist you with proof of concepts, planning, design, and implementation questions in a pre-sales fashion. These are the technologies that they cover. First step is to go to Akamai Caching, Akamai Connect, enable checkbox. We will accept the EULA, select our license file, and we'll hit submit. What's happening now is the WAAS Central Manager is reaching out to Akamai to register the device, the Central Manager, as well as the new device that we've added to the Central Manager. Then it's going to get a key from Akamai and push that key down to the WAAS device. That WAAS device in turn uses that key to connect to Akamai to pull down all of the caching rules and metadata for over-the-top caching and Akamai connected cache. So you'll notice if we go back to the All Devices page, Akamai Connect is now active, but showing is not connected. That means that the WAAS device is trying to reach out to Akamai with the key it just received and trying to authenticate. However, this key can take up to 30 to 45 minutes to propagate through Akamai's worldwide network of 130,000 servers. So just give that some time. However, in the meantime, you can still run some baseline testing and leverage the transparent caching feature sets for your intranet websites. You can check the status of the Akamai Connect activation via the home page under Monitor Akamai Diagnostics. You'll see here that the ISR-WAAS instance is still in the activation in progress state. It's running, so able to do some caching for intranet content, and in the process of activating, in terms of connecting to Akamai. Eventually this will transition to an activated state, so it'll be running and activated. Then you'll be able to run your full suite of Akamai Connect tests. Some challenges with the activation would mean you have an incorrect DNS server and cannot resolve the Akamai resources in the cloud that are involved with the activation process, or your time is out of sync, so you need to point to an authoritative NTP server for both your central manager and your WAAS device for the activation process to complete successfully. Now that we've waited about 30 minutes, you can see that my ISR-WAAS device that I enabled Akamai Connect on is now showing as active and connected. I'm now able to run my full suite of HTTP caching tests.